Now, like myself, if you come in your coffee maker plugged into a wall out this morning, you might have noticed the idea didn't take off. Really, that's for three practical limitations behind the Tesla coil. The first and most obvious limitation, if this is your source of power, it needs to be on all the time, which is a little bit noisy. Plus, for some reason, people don't like the lightning above their heads. Now, the second limitation of the Tesla coil is really a limitation of Nikola Tesla, and that is, you're giving away free power. Are you paying for the power in the first place? Not the best of business, much better than 10%.
Wow.
And the third limitation of the Tesla coil is limitation of this design, and that is, this Tesla coil has no voltage regulation on it.
No voltage regulation.
Devices like to exist in a very narrow band of volts and amps, which yield watts, so things work rather than burn. Now, our Tesla coil puts out anywhere between 350,000 to 500,000 volts of electricity with less than 1 billion amps. So in terms of wattage, it's terrible. In terms of voltage, it will power devices, at least, as we have in the front, a set of lights. Now, if you look to the front of the exhibit, you see a set of lights displaying the word Tesla coil, only activate when I turn the Tesla coil on. Unfortunately, look at how those lights shine. Now, if you're able to see those lights or not, it's okay, I'll tell you. They weren't shining very brightly. They flickered a lot because it's an inconsistent field being generated. 350,000 to 500,000 volts is a big range of voltage. So, unfortunately, it doesn't power things very well. Now, in the original performance exhibit, we're on the other side of the observatory. We handed a bunch of shop lights and we put up a fluorescent tube that push the Tesla coil. All the things would light up. It's really neat. You might want to know why did we ruin such a fun, interactive part of this exhibit. Well, in 2002, when we were closing down for renovations, we noticed this rising trend. Suddenly, everyone had cell phones. Cameras went digital. Pacemakers went wireless, which, when exposed to an unregulated field of 300,000 volts or more, stopped working permanently. So, the city of Los Angeles decided probably better to make sure everything was safe so we didn't have to deal with the day-to-day. Hey, my phone! Hey, Uncle Bill! Now, in terms of actual safety, we didn't mind our cell phone breaking and we were inside that Faraday cage or that thing surrounding it. What would happen? Well, it's a lot of voltage, but not a lot of amperage. Amperage is the deadly part of electricity. 1 amp will stop your car, less than a milliamp, and a tick. 350,000 volts, on the other hand, survivable. Completely survivable, like grabbing the end of a stun gun. Just not a really good idea. You will likely pee yourself and it will hurt a lot. But you can survive. Now, the way to prevent us from being electrocuted or our phones and electronic devices breaking is this copper mesh surrounding the entire exhibit. It's called the Faraday cage. The electric field being generated has wavelengths about yay big. The apertures of the opening of those squares are not yay big. So that means it actually stops the field dead in its tracks at the cage. So we are safe from the electromagnetic generation. Now, because it is a copper Faraday cage, there's an interesting side demonstration. There is now a conductive point, those bolts on the top, to jump to. With that conductive point, we have crisper, cleaner bolts coming off the Tesla coil. If we didn't have that copper cage surrounding it, it looked much more like the veins in a bat's wing. You want to flare it out. There's really no practical difference between the two, but, you know, 6 of one, half dozen the other in terms of style. Like this. Now, our Tesla coil is a set of 2 that belong to a medical doctor named Dr. Strong, operating out of Manhattan. Now, as far as we know, he didn't use these so much on patients, but he did demonstrate the principles in Madison Square Garden for how these things work. He had 2 of them, he fired them up together, and looked really neat. Well, for some reason, maybe he didn't use them on patients or something. He donated both his coils in 1937 to the observatory. He opened in 1935. So that means this Tesla coil, next to the big telescope on the roof, and the pendulum's main atrium, one of the oldest exhibits here. It's a classic Tesla coil. We'd like to take care of it. And because we're operating in the early 30s, that means that this Tesla coil is likely one worked on by people who work personally with Nikola Tesla, if not Tesla himself. More than likely, though, it's members of his team, not Tesla. So it's a fun thing. Now, we do have 2 of them. I've asked about the other one plenty of times. I said, where is the Tesla coil? They say, put it in storage. So I imagine a very large Indiana Jones disc warehouse. This Tesla coil and the Ark of the Covenant never be seen. Now, this is an older Tesla coil, recommended from 1937, probably older than that, so we have to take care of it. In 2006, we reopened after renovations for a couple of years. We moved the Tesla coil, put the Faraday cage, people asked, hey, where'd the Tesla coil go? Bring them on over here, we fire it up, it was great. And then we found the fork limitation of this device. It overheats. When it overheats, it literally catches on fire. And ours actually caught on fire. So, after hiring a very fancy person to come in and repair the Tesla coil, we're told, don't do that. So we actually fire it every hour or so. Fortunately, the next hour is the dead hour of the Tesla coil, where let it rest the longest. We fire it again at 7:20. This clock there is nothing for the Tesla coil. Next one, 7:20. I will fire it 2 more times. I'd like to get a picture of it. 3, 2, 1 countdown. I warn you though, the glass, it's a bit of a flash mount, so see if you can do it without moving, whichever works. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Tesla coil. Alright, let's breath. Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1. Tesla coil. It's alive! Alright folks, that is our Tesla coil. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, enjoy your time.